Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from the Korman Productions Deep Dive TV podcast. My co-host Stacie with her snazzy new glasses to talk about the original Quantum Leap Season 5, Episode 19, titled The Beast Within. The episode's description reads as follows. As a Vietnam veteran, Sam is mistaken for Bigfoot in rural Washington State. The episode was written by John D'Aquino, and the episode was directed by Gus Triconos. He had 48 directorial credits, 3 writing credits, and 15 acting credits, including West Side Story and an episode of The Fugitive. The episode takes place on November 6, 1972, and originally aired on March 16, 1993. Before we go any further, I'll tell you a couple things. One, this is not a spoiler-free podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you go check it out, and then come back and give us a listen. Secondly, if you're listening to the platforms of this podcast now available on, please follow and feel free to check out our YouTube channel, Korman Productions, where additional content can be discoverable, Quantum Leap related and otherwise. If you're already on our YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to the channel.
And hit the hype button.
The hype button.
The hype button,
yes,
brand new.
That is brand new. All right, so it's been a while since we have talked Quantum Leap.
It's been a minute.
Yes.
Yeah, we've done a lot in the meantime, but we're back.
We definitely have. Shout-outs, one for us. That's right, I'm going to shout us out.
Woo!
Because we are pretty soon to hit 1 million views on the channel.
1 million views on the YouTube channel, which sounds crazy.
It does. It definitely does. I don't think I was anywhere near those numbers before I started the podcast. So it is actually quite, well, we started the podcast, I should say. I definitely think that we made quite a bit of progress in the time since we have been together.
Yes.
And to celebrate 1 million views, we are going to do a Zoom party, which is going to include some of you, perhaps, and a bunch of possible TV actors and
a bunch of special guests.
Yeah, possibly, quite possibly.
Unknown special guests.
Right, yeah. At this time, we do not know who is actually going to show up.
It's going to be a surprise party for us.
It's going to surprise us who shows up. But basically, we invited a bunch of people. A lot of people did say that they were going to come. But that could also include you Quantum Leap fans, Mimi Gallup, Alpha. This is your chance to get on the channel, get an Internet Movie Database credit, and talk with us live. Well, not quite live. Well, it'll be live for you.
You'll be with us live.
Right, yeah.
But it's not airing on YouTube live.
Right, yeah.
But it will eventually make its way to a YouTube video.
So, if you're interested, contact us, kormanproductionsdeepdive at gmail.com. That's our new email. If you, email us there, let us know if you have any interest, and we'll send you the link.
Yeah, and you didn't say when it is.
Oh, yes.
We're recording that on Monday, so in just a couple days. Monday, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, which would mean, some quick math, 2 to 4 Pacific.
Gotcha. All right, so Mimi Gallup says, and this is a shout-out for Mimi, that it's okay about us taking a little break. You guys are doing a great job. The Institute by Stephen King sounds good. I haven't read one of his books in a long time. Although I had wanted to watch 2 of his TV shows, I couldn't. I was busy at the time. I think that those shows were The Hospital and A Haunted House. Well, I can tell you that The Institute is a quality sci-fi horror show. Go check it out, and then listen to our podcast on it.
Yeah, we definitely did not actually take a break. Now, we did pause Quantum Leap, but we've been very busy the last couple months. We covered the entire first season of Stephen King's The Institute on MGM+, and we covered the entire first season of Revival on Sci-Fi Peacock.
Not to mention Sullivan's Crossing.
And Sullivan's Crossing Season 3, which I think we had started already when we were still doing Quantum Leap, but that's in its entirety now, too. As well as we've interviewed 13 people from Revival at this point.
Right, yes.
Cast and crew members, which is insane.
It is pretty crazy.
So check out those shows, check out our podcasts on those shows. Let us know if you have any questions about them, and we'll send you in the right direction.
All right, so, she also says, I like how they used her real name in the title of the episode, the Marilyn Monroe episode. Did Sam really like Marilyn Monroe? It seems like he did. And whoever wrote this episode must have really loved Marilyn Monroe and didn't want her to die. All right, that's it for shoutouts. Stacie, your thoughts on this week's episode?
All right, The Beast Within. It's one of those gimmicky episodes, right? So we're like, hey, Bigfoot, it falls under the same lane as like when we're talking about aliens and ghosts and all of these things. And they take a very clear stance here that they're telling us Bigfoot's real in this episode. Now, I know some of the production team were not on board with this. It was one of those things the network was pushing for. But aside from the gimmickiness of it, it's a fine episode. We've got some good characters here, some good drama in this episode. And not least of all, it takes place in Washington State, which is where I grew up. Yeah. So I've always appreciated that. And it actually looks like the Pacific Northwest, which is crazy because a lot of times you're just going to get it's California. But this looks like Pacific Northwest. We got the greenery. So I applaud them on the physical aesthetics of the setting.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my least favorite for the final 4 episodes.
I agree with that
because there is some quality episodes coming up.
The next 3 are all better than this one for me.
Right,
but that's not a deterrent to this episode.
No, it's a perfectly fine episode. And I know that Alpa cites this as one of his favorites because it does take place in Washington State. I
think it's the only one, too.
Yeah.
Of the classic series, at least.
Which is fun for me because my mom is currently living in Washington State. One thing I did not mention was that the writer of this episode, I'm not going to try to remember how to pronounce his name.
John D'Aquina.
He actually says that Tommy Thompson should have been credited with writing this episode. I actually learned that from Hayden McQueenie, one of our Quantum Leap friends and Quantum Leap podcasters. He said that basically Tommy Thompson did a big time rewrite of this episode, so he should have gotten credit for the writing of this episode. This actor also will appear in the series finale, so this will not be the last time that we're talking about him.
Okay, and I don't think we actually said who that is in case anybody's not familiar with the name. John D'Aquina is the actor who appears as
Jimmy's father.
Jimmy's brother.
Yeah,
I was looking for Frank.
Frank, yes.
Frank from Jimmy. And the first Evil Leaper episode.
Yes.
And like you said, he'll also appear in Mirror Image.
Technically speaking, he's kind of playing the same character, though his character will be named differently in that episode.
Right.
And also, you could have found this actor in Sequest DSV. Do we have anything else to say before diving in?
Let's do it.
All right. So Sam leaps in wearing a fur coat on a windowsill. A kid, Daniel, enters his room and screams. Sam ends up out of the window, but not falling out the window, thankfully. The kid is joined by his mother asking him what's wrong, and soon his stepfather. The kid says he was there. When he's asked who, he says Bigfoot. And Sam says, oh boy. There's a chance that he leapt into Bigfoot.
Yeah, he looks at it. I mean, it's not impossible. He's been a chimp before.
I mean, fair enough.
So I can see him questioning, am I Bigfoot?
Right. And credits. Okay, so the Daniel is played by David Tom. 42 credits for him, including 7 episodes of Veronica Mars, the movie Stay Tuned, which was a John Ritter film where basically they ended up in TV shows with the remote. Batman Forever. Actually, I'm sorry, that's the wrong credits. And an episode of NCIS New Orleans, which means he probably had a reunion with Scott Bakula.
Yes, he was in one episode of NCIS New Orleans as well as one episode of NCIS main series. Interestingly enough, his character in New Orleans also had the last name of Burke. He's Daniel Burke here, and that was a character last name Burke.
Yep.
I think it was a coincidence, but that's a fun coincidence.
Speaking of Scott Bakula, and I should have already brought this up, we're once again going to go see him. And
we are.
Possibly meet him again.
We're going to go meet Scott Bakula again.
I mean, for him, it's going to be like the first time because I doubt he's remembered us. But
we have to be looking familiar at this point.
Right. But yeah, he's going to be starring in a play in New York in The Baker's Wife.
Yes.
So
we're going to go see that at the beginning of November, and that's going to be amazing. And I'm so excited. We're going to get to go and just have a fun day and meet up with some of our Quantum Leap friends again.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is always an amazing time.
Mm-hmm. His mother...
One more thing on David Tom. He was also in 340 episodes of The Young and the Restless and the movie Pleasantville.
Okay, that makes sense. So his mother, Karen, is played by Eileen Steely, 40 credits for her, including Star Trek TNG. This is his second season episode, Ensign of Command. Basically, she develops a little crush on Data. Batman Forever and Jack Frost 1 and 2.
She was also in 2 episodes of Freddy's Nightmares.
And his father, Lucas, is played by Pat Skipper.
The stepfather.
Stepfather.
Let's not mix that up, because that's an important part of this
yes.
story.
98 credits for him, including 4 episodes of The X-Files as Scully's brother. He was an equally pleasant character in that series. And I was actually surprised that he only appeared in 4 episodes, because he felt like he was in a lot more than that. He was also in an episode of The West Wing and the movie Erin Brockovich.
He was also in the 2007 Halloween movie. He was more recently in Oppenheimer. And you might have missed this. He's actually in another episode of Quantum Leap.
Okay.
He plays Tequila in MIA.
That's right. I forgot about that. Okay. Yep, I remember him in there. Okay. So when we come back from the credits, Luke, he's actually credited as Lucas, but his name is Luke in the episode. He's referred to as Luke. He's going to take a look with his shotgun, looking for Sam, Bigfoot. Sam makes a run for it in the woods, and he's grabbed by someone in the woods who tells him he's worried about him, and Sam goes off with him. This is Roy, played by Sean Sullivan. 62 credits for him, including Back to the Future 3, which means we might talk about him again.
Eventually.
Yeah. Babylon 5, and an episode of Handmaid's Tale.
He also was in 6 episodes of The Umbrella Academy and the movie Saw 3.
Nice.
We have a lot of... We're eventually going to have to do like the whole Saw franchise, I think.
That's funny because...
Saw comes up very frequently in our people.
Yes. Do you happen to know how many Saw movies I've actually seen?
You're going to tell me you've never watched Saw?
I've seen exactly 1.
What?
I watched the first one. I didn't watch any of the other
Are you
ones.
kidding? Saw is an amazing horror franchise.
So I guess we're definitely going to have to do that series.
I mean... I don't know if we can cover it the way we normally cover it, because it's very, very heavy and bloody and gory. And I don't know if our conversations would be very YouTube appropriate, honestly, if we got really deep dive into them. But 100% I'm going to make you watch them now that I know you haven't seen them, because it's a really good series.
All right.
And that means you've never even saw, like, all of the ones with, like, the people we always talk about in it.
Yes, like Scott Patterson. No, I did not see any of those.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, I know the next thing we're binging together.
Okay. So, Daniel insists it was Bigfoot he saw, but his parents are not impressed. He makes a reference to his dad. His mom suggests he could very well not have been able to see very well because he was not wearing his glasses. Luke says it was Henry Adams. He lost him in the woods, but found something of his. I believe it was the pills.
It's pills that Henry, which is Sam's host, was trying to steal.
Right.
Which I'm very confused by these pills, honestly, throughout the episode.
Okay.
So I might as well say it here. Why are the pills here in the first place? Whose pills are these? At one point, Al mentioned, this is later in the episode, Al mentions like, oh, what you did at the pharmacy last night. So is he stealing them from the pharmacy? But this is like their house.
Right. Is
the pharmacy in their house? Is Karen the pharmacist? I'm confused by the situation with the pills.
Right. It's not really clear to me exactly why Sam is at this house when he should have been at a pharmacy.
Right. They're making it sound like this is the pharmacy.
Unless he's stealing pills from this family.
Right. That question that too, like, oh, is Luke on the same prescription?
Right.
And that's why he knows he can get them here. I mean, that would kind of make sense.
But that's never referenced.
But it's never referenced, and we do reference the pharmacy. So, how?
Right.
Where? I'm confused because he was definitely, like, in Daniel's bedroom, it seemed, right?
Right. Yeah, and we don't make any reference to Daniel needing these pills.
Right.
And, he's stealing from a boy. That would be pretty shitty.
Yeah, I'm confused about the pills. But that's what he found was the pills, and we'll soon find out that Sam's supposed to try to steal the pills for Roy.
So so he wants to go in the woods to find Henry. He harshly tells Daniel no, he can't come, but softens his tone a little and tells him to stay with his mother. He doesn't want any more monster talk from him. Meanwhile, Sam narrates back at their camp that he's been in some hairy situations before, but none like this. I see what you did there, Sam.
And now he knows he's not Bigfoot.
Right.
So thank goodness for that. He looks in the mirror.
Yep.
We get our mirror image here of the actor playing Henry Adams. His name is Mike Jolly. Mike was in one episode of Jag, Forrest Gump, and Sister Act.
He sounds like a really happy person.
I would hope so.
Yes.
I would hope so with that name.
Well, it'd actually be kind of ironic if he were like the most miserable person.
Yeah, right.
But, I don't wish that on him, so let's hope not. He didn't know who he was, but he was quite certain it wasn't Bigfoot, and of course he confirms this by looking in the mirror. Roy says he thinks he lost. Who does he think he lost?
What?
Roy says he thinks he lost him. Oh, okay.
Oh, Luke?
Roy says he thinks he lost Luke, and then asks Sam if he's okay. Roy tells a story about their Vietnam days, and after he asks Sam if he got them, Al appears at the 6 minute and 21 second mark, and of course Sam has no idea what he's talking about. Together, between the two of them, Al and Sam, they realize it was Fetatoin. Sam says he dropped them, and Roy starts flipping out. Al tells him that Ziggy says he can't let him get upset, and then he eventually manages to calm him down.
Yeah, he said there's 95% chance he's going to have a seizure if he doesn't calm him down. During this, Roy says he's going to see snakes in his head again, so that's what he's been experiencing.
Some kind of weird PTSD.
And it's also during this conversation that we learn what Roy used to do in Vietnam, which becomes very important later. He was a very small statured person, so he was
tunnel rat.
He would climb in crevices and places, and we'll learn more of that as we go on. But it's first mentioned here how he hid in a crack on this. This particular story he told was about hiding in a crack, and the enemy went right past him and didn't see him.
Apparently, though, that's how he got hurt, because at one point he was doing that service, and then the enemy was expecting him.
Yeah, I think that story comes later.
It comes actually here.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yep. Basically, the enemy saw him coming, and that's how he ended up getting hurt. Sam asks why they're living out there in a camp. Al says a lot of vets came back, and they said they would avoid people. And Sam asks why. Al answers it's simple. No people, no war. Ziggy has no idea why he's there.
Of course he doesn't.
Because, naturally.
She doesn't.
Of
they
course.
don't.
Still checking the data. So Sam sends Al away, and Al suggests checking the cabin for more information. So in short, and it's funny, later we're going to learn something that Ziggy could have drawn upon, but I guess it happened in a new timeline. But yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute, because I have questions about that too.
Yeah, but yeah, so basically Sam is going to go be more useful than Ziggy currently is.
Right.
Meanwhile, Deputy Curtis is suggesting they deputize some people to look for Henry, but Lucas just wants to do it himself. Curtis leaves, and Lucas sits alone in his office.
You're throwing me off. You keep calling him Lucas.
Yeah, because that's in my notes. Because the Internet Movie Database credit is Lucas Luke, whatever his last name is.
I didn't catch that. Luke Marlett is what I have. Deputy Curtis is our other new character here. He is played by David Denny. He was in 2 episodes of Walker, Texas Ranger, and an episode of Coach. And this is where we learn that Luke is actually the sheriff.
Right.
So this is his deputy.
Yeah, so he's looking at he takes out a book, which includes photos of his Vietnam days, including a pic which has Henry and Roy in it, along with John Burke, who is the father of Daniel. And we see basically Luke replay in his mind an explosion, though we don't know the context of that just yet.
Right. And actually, the picture we're seeing is from high school, not from Vietnam.
Oh, okay.
They were a high school wrestling team.
Gotcha.
Friends.
All right, so Sam, meanwhile, is looking at the same book. What a coincidence.
Yeah, he has a very identical looking scrapbook.
Right. And same picture, and he recognizes Luke, but doesn't have context for why he was chasing him with a shotgun. And then he starts to read Henry's journal. There was an incident in which they were sweeping a village.
Yeah, and he reads just the perfect passage. It seemed very convenient that this is the passage he turned to in the journal first.
Mm-hmm. John was the one leading the platoon. He wanted Lucas to go in and basically kill an old man.
Right.
But Luke refused to do so. And after much conversation, he's basically like, well, why don't you go do it? So John starts to walk towards the building to do exactly that. But then there's an explosion, and John dies in it.
Right. Everybody else walked away, but John went in by himself, and no more John.
Nope.
John in this flashback is played by John Warfel Hillard, He was in an episode of Melrose Place, an episode of General Hospital, and an episode of Charmed.
Roy sees him reading, and Sam invites him in as Al appears, but Roy says he can't come in because he's a vampire or something. Just kidding. He's actually claustrophobic.
Super claustrophobic to the point where he cannot enter a building.
Yes.
He is outside 24/7 under the sky. He went from being in teeny tiny tunnel spaces to I cannot go inside a building, which honestly is more like a lean-to because like there's no side of it, so it's not even a 4-wall building.
Right.
It's like completely open on one side and he still can't walk into it.
So Roy thanks him for what he did earlier and says good night. Sam asks if Roy will be okay. Al says for now. He tells Sam that he's there to get Roy his medication. If he doesn't, there's a 97% chance he's going to have a seizure tomorrow and die.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to question this. So he's saying what Sam's here to do is to get him the medication so he doesn't die.
Yes.
Does that mean that Henry lost the pills the same way Sam did? I was about to call him Scott.
Either would have been accurate.
I don't feel like that would make sense.
No.
Because if Sam hadn't leapt in, if Henry was there, he knew the importance of what he was doing. I don't feel like he would have dropped the pills and left them behind.
Yeah.
He would have left with the pills.
Probably.
Which means that's not what Sam was sent here to do, because this wouldn't have happened in the original history.
Right.
Where he didn't have the pills and was going to die tomorrow.
Well, maybe his actual mission was to, like, kind of get Luke to see the error
to
of his
get them
ways.
to be friends again.
Maybe something along those lines. I mean, or at least not actively, like hostile towards each other.
Sure, but we've come into so many of these situations where we break down like, oh, well, the thing Sam's fixing is actually a problem Sam caused.
Yes. And it's probably the case here.
Permanent Wave comes to mind. I know you had a big issue with that one.
Yes.
Where it was the same thing. Like, the only reason somebody's about to die is because something he did before he knew he wasn't supposed to.
Well, in that case, that person was going to die. The kid
life was in danger because of Sam.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, we never find out, and in so many circumstances, what was he really sent here to do? Because the thing he ends up fixing is just the thing he broke in the first place.
Exactly.
And I feel like this is one of them, because I do not think that even if Henry, got startled by Daniel and fell out the window, I do not think he would have left the pills behind.
No.
Because that's why he was there. It was important.
Yes.
So he would have made sure he left with them, even if he did have to run away the same way Sam did.
Right. Yeah, I think you're probably right there. So Daniel, meanwhile, is giving his mom the silent treatment for not believing in him. And Daniel's mom basically just tells him to grow up. Luke comes home, mocks Daniel, saying, I didn't see Bigfoot or aliens. And he angrily says he doesn't want him to go to school, saying he saw Bigfoot, when what he really saw was Henry. Luke gives him a harsher grow-up speech than Karen did, but it's not really that much different in tone from what Karen was saying to him like 5 minutes ago before he showed up.
Right.
And yet, then basically he's like, you're not my father, and storms off. This is like the typical, step family conflict that you see every single time you have a stepfather or a step-parent.
Right.
You have this whole, you're not my father, you're not my mom. In fact, I kind of lived that situation at one point.
The difference here is Dad's dead.
Well, yes.
So it's a little deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we will soon find out that because Luke and John were such good friends,
yes,
I think Daniel holds that a little more against him.
I mean, can you really blame him for that?
No, I don't blame him for that. But that's more context of why. It's more than just step-parent. It's like there's deep-rooted stuff here between these characters.
Fair enough. And then Karen basically starts giving him Luke some crap for being too harsh on him, when I feel like she was just as harsh on him. Not that long before he showed up.
Sure, but she might be feeling the same kind of way, even if she doesn't voice it. Like, she is the parent.
Yeah.
He's not.
Yeah, he basically, like, before Daniel ends up storming off, he basically says, someone needs to be the father around here.
Right.
And that's what leads to the whole, you're not my father thing. And then Karen and Luke end up arguing about John, basically that situation, and it kind of seems like Luke doesn't entirely feel welcome in this situation, despite having married into it.
Right.
He kind of feels a little bit of resentment towards the fact that Daniel isn't really his.
Well, you know what it is.
Some other
we don't really know it yet, but it's all because John feels guilty.
Not John.
Or Luke feels guilty. I had such a hard time with these names, by the way.
No, I
like
gotcha.
4 men with very basic names. Luke feels guilty.
Yes.
We'll learn that later. He feels guilty about John's death. He probably married her, not so much because he even loves her, but just because he wants to take care of John's family. Because he feels so guilty that they lost him.
That makes sense. But I think there is some genuine feeling between them.
I'm sure there is, but it's also so ingrained in this fact of this guilt that he's carrying.
Yeah. And
the fact that he's never expressed his guilt to anyone.
It basically just eats at him and colors every single thing that he does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Karen goes and talks to Luke about why not Luke. She goes and talks to Daniel about why she married Luke after his father died.
I think you skipped a scene.
Did I?
So we see Sam reading more of Henry's journal.
Oh, it's not in my notes.
He read the rest of it. It's a quick scene. Al joins him, and at this point they've pieced together that the 4 of them were high school buddies that went to Vietnam together.
Gotcha.
And Al's like, this doesn't sound like this story's going to end happily.
No? Okay. Karen goes and talks to Daniel, and basically that scene happens. And then after she leaves, Daniel decides to sneak out.
Yep, he grabs a big bag and a flashlight and his camera and sneaks out the window. And I'm pretty sure this is the same window we saw Sam at the beginning.
Okay. So Karen asks him what he's going to do about Henry and Roy.
Asks Luke.
Yes, that's what I meant to say. She says they were just trying to get his medication. Luke asks why he didn't go see a doctor like everyone else. Karen says because he knows that if he does, he will be arrested. And Luke calls him a thief. Karen says all he did was steal a couple of chickens because he was hungry. Yeah, I hate to agree with Luke here, but that is a crime.
That is a crime.
Maybe a minor one, but still.
But also, these are supposedly your best friends.
Right.
And you should be wanting to help him get medical care.
Right.
It's a tricky situation.
Couldn't you arrest him and also get him help?
Right. You should be doing things to better their lives. Now, whether you agree with how they're living and you're arresting, whatever, but you should be doing something helpful. And whatever you're doing is not helpful.
Right, and again, I think that comes down to him carrying this guilt and coloring every single thing that he does.
Right.
He
doesn't know what to do with it.
He's not thinking about the situation from a rational lens in any kind of way.
Yeah.
He's just thinking he can't see beyond his tunnel vision, basically.
Right. We also learned in this that Doc Kramer was providing Roy with medicine up until now, but Doc Kramer died a couple days ago, which is why Sam's host, Henry, came to this position where he was trying to steal the meds.
Right.
Because they didn't have a way of getting them anymore.
So we cut to Al, who's recapping for Sam that Lucas feels responsible for his friend's death, but then he married his friend's wife. Sam explains the story, and Al says he could have been brought up on charges, but Henry and Roy were the only witnesses, and they didn't end up reporting him.
Right. As far as,
right.
This is why he blames himself for his death, because he disobeyed the order. But you know what? If he had done what he was told, he would have been blown up.
Yeah.
So it's survivor's guilt, as well as he knows he should have maybe been following orders, but also, what a weird thing, right? That the order was to go kill somebody, and he didn't think that person needed to die.
It was an old man, so it's somewhat morally reprehensible.
Right.
You and I looking at the situation would definitely think, well, that's pretty shitty. That's not the right thing to do.
Right.
But this is war.
Right.
And it's an entirely different situation, and maybe
I don't know enough, and I don't follow the war stories enough to really comprehend all this, I think, but is the end result that it was somebody they should have been killing because this was a trap?
Maybe. I don't know.
Or
yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, just killing an old man for the sake of killing him seems wasteful. It seems there doesn't seem to be a point to it.
Right. But I don't think we got the whole story.
Right, yeah.
But regardless, that building went boom, so anybody in it died. Whether
Yes.
the old
So
man was
the old
there
man
or
is dead,
not,
too.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, if he had followed orders, he would have been like somebody was going to die unless we just ignored this man.
Right. Which maybe you could argue they should have.
I mean, that was his
Weren't they
position.
Weren't they bombing this entire area anyway?
I don't know.
Anyway, so suddenly Roy starts having a seizure. Sam yells at Al that he thought he wasn't going to die till tomorrow. Al says the seizures must be getting worse, and Sam says he needs to get him to a doctor, but Al tells him that the doctor is dead, and if he goes into town, Luke will arrest him for stealing chickens. And after today, there's also a warrant out for him too. That's basically the whole after your escapades with the pharmacy.
This is where he
line.
mentions the pharmacy, right?
Right.
And I'm like, what? This is where my notes say, is Karen the pharmacist? I'm confused.
Right.
Because we know Luke's not the pharmacist.
Al tells him he just needs to buy Roy some time, and Sam decides to go into the woods to find a flower, which he will boil down into a drink that he thinks will buy Roy some time.
The flower is Lobelia, which has some of the same properties, I guess, as this particular med they're looking for, and he finds it. And that seems very convenient to me.
Yes.
Out of all the plants that exist in the world, you think of this one that's going to help, and it happens to be here?
Maybe he manifested it.
Maybe. I meant to look up this plant, see if it was something that was native to Washington, and I forgot to go back and do that. But it felt really convenient, the way he's like, I will find this plant. And there it is, right where they live.
Right. They hear something in the woods, and Al thinks it might be Bigfoot. The next morning, Roy is cooking breakfast and seems to be doing better after drinking some of Sam's concoction. Roy describes a dream about Wanda, who sat behind her in history class, and apparently this was a very naughty dream. That's at least the impression that I get after listening to Roy talk about it for a little bit.
Yes. You skipped a really beautiful part of the episode. When Sam wakes up, there's a deer in his room.
Aww.
And he talks to the deer a little bit.
Nice.
So it's about him just kind of connecting to nature. The way that, these characters are.
They hear something in the woods. Roy points his gun, and it finds it pointed at Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel, who has wandered into their camp.
Good times. Lucas, meanwhile, is preparing for combat. His wife comes in panicking. I have pantsing here. I don't know what that's about, but panicking about Daniel, who's gone into the woods to get a shot of Bigfoot.
Yeah, so she didn't know he was gone until she goes to wake him up for school in the morning, and he's not in his room. But she noticed his camera's gone, so she put 2 and 2 together that he went to get evidence that Bigfoot exists.
Luke calms her down and says he will find him and sends her home.
And I'm going to point out that he never goes to look for the kid.
No, he doesn't even seem to care about Daniel.
You're the sheriff. Your stepson is missing. And the only reason he ends up finding him is because he's looking for Henry and Roy.
That seems to be the only thing he cares about. Not his missing son, but these 2 people, basically. So Daniel, meanwhile, is being fed, and he knows who Henry is. Roy starts telling him a John story, and then Sam asks if anyone knows they're up there. Daniel says they will now. Sam says, great, Luke can now add kidnapping to his charges. They laugh about scaring each other back at the beginning of the episode, and Daniel ends up bringing up Bigfoot. Roy claims to have seen Bigfoot. He starts to say where he saw Bigfoot, and Roy starts to have the beginning of an episode. Basically, he starts talking about the snakes in his head. He's having headaches. Sam goes to make more tea and tells Al that he needs to go into town. Al says Luke will find him and arrest him if he does, and Sam says not if he finds him first. Sam tells the pair he's going to go into town and suggests Daniel go with him, but he won't go because he wants to snap a picture of Bigfoot and prove he's not crazy. Al thinks it's not such a bad idea to not leave Roy alone, and Sam makes them promise not to go anywhere. How much of a percentage do you think they're going to stick to that?
Right. Now, here's a question. At this moment, as soon as Sam leaves them, shouldn't Ziggy be pinging in with the new history of what's going to happen to them?
Yeah.
Like, we should have known that already, as soon as Sam leaves them alone together.
Yes.
Because those events are already set in course where Sam's not intervening anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, he's like, the tea's not strong enough, so I need to get the pills. You could have made the tea anyways for him to have in the meantime.
Well, didn't he? Because he said he was going to.
He said he was going to, but then he just told it, it's not good enough. I got to go into town, and then he goes.
Yeah, okay.
So what do you want? You're leaving Daniel here, so you're not leaving Roy alone. What do you want Daniel to do?
Right, he's not going to know how to handle that.
Right.
But Sam decides to stop and visit Luke, who's pretty surprised to see him. And Sam
that was his plan, just walk into the station and hope that Luke will help him.
Sam says when it comes down to it, Sam is a pretty optimistic guy.
He should have went to Karen.
Yeah?
Especially if Karen's the pharmacist.
Right.
Or go to Karen directly and be like, hey, your kid's at my camp with Roy and I need his meds. Can you help me?
That would have made sense.
Why are we going to Luke?
Right. Sam says he wants to talk. He tells him that Roy is sick. He has demonstrated no concern for Roy being sick at any point in this episode.
Right, you're basing this on a high school friendship that you don't know anything about that was 10 years ago.
I mean, everything that Luke has expressed is he doesn't give a shit about Roy being sick. But he says if he doesn't get his medication, he's going to die. And Luke snidely says he wasn't too sick to steal the chickens. Sam says this has nothing to do with chickens, and he knows it. Sam says he wants his word as a friend. If he brings in Roy, he will not be arrested. And he's like, what do you say? And then Curtis behind him cocks his shotgun. So I'm going to guess that the answer is no.
Well, yeah, he's followed by saying, you're under arrest. That's what I say. So he doesn't seem to care about Luke or about Daniel.
Yeah.
Hasn't mentioned anything about, he's sitting here on the phone when Sam comes in talking to some woman about her cat. Like, he's not out looking for the missing kid.
Right.
And he doesn't mention him here at all, either.
Right. Daniel asks Roy about his dad, how his dad died. Roy seems mildly upset at the question and kind of tries to deflect. He asks, did Luke tell you about the war? And basically, Daniel says that Luke doesn't really want to talk to him about the war. Roy holds Daniel's camera. He ends up describing his encounter with Bigfoot, and Daniel ends up talking him into taking him to the spot where he last saw him, Bigfoot specifically. So yeah, that lasted, them staying put lasted all like 2 seconds.
Right.
Luke locks up Sam and says he made a big mistake coming up here. And, he basically asks him why he couldn't have just stayed up there. And he tells Sam that he's going to go find Roy to end this thing. What does that mean exactly? Arrest him? Shoot him? I'm a little confused as to what his end game is here.
The way he said, why couldn't you have just stayed up there? I feel like he doesn't want to arrest them.
Right.
But he feels the duty to, since he's encountered them. And he's like, I wish you would have just stayed hidden so I could pretend you're not even here and then I don't have to arrest you.
I'm not sure that that's totally it, though. I mean, I think that's part of it. I think there's definitely he's in part conflicted about this whole situation. But I think also the fact that, they all have the secret.
Right.
They could expose him. He has this tunnel vision, guilt that he has. And I think Henry and Roy kind of remind him even more of this guilt in the first place. He's constant reminders of what he did.
Right.
What he perceives that he did.
Right.
And I'm not sure I could fully describe the psychology here, but I think there's more to it than just, not just wanting to not arrest them.
No, he wants to, pretend they don't exist.
Okay.
He wants to forget about them.
Right.
Because, like you said, they are a reminder, and he doesn't want to look at them.
Gotcha. So, Al pops in and tells Sam that Roy and Daniel are gone. History has changed. They'll be found dead tomorrow. Oh, joy.
At Willamette Peak.
My question is Luke going to give a shit when that happens? Because he doesn't seem to care about Daniel at all.
Well, he's going to have to care somewhat, because Karen's going to care.
That's true. Al tells him that he needs to go to get out of there. And basically Sam's like, okay, how do you expect me to do that? And basically Sam sends him to go, spend time with Daniel and Roy, keep an eye on them. And when Sam leaves, or not Sam, when Al leaves, Sam looks up to the sky, talking to God itself, and asks, okay, I'm open to suggestions. And that's when Karen comes in, calling for Luke.
Yeah, and I want to point out something there was a little too much for me, taking me out of this scene. When Al first comes and he says, I went to visit the campsite and they're gone, and Ziggy says they're at Willamette Peak. Sam's response is, well, how would Ziggy know that? And that's when he says, because history changed and they're found dead there. But my question is, why wouldn't Ziggy know that?
Right, they could just walk in on
As soon as you realize they're not here, he could have just been center me on Roy and Daniel, and then we know where they are.
Yes.
And it felt really bizarre to me that Sam would question, how would Ziggy know where they are?
Right.
Like, that's Ziggy's freaking job, isn't it?
Yes. Actually, come to think of it, why couldn't Ziggy center in on that child in the trilogy episodes, in the second episode when they couldn't find the child?
Well, Ziggy hadn't met the child.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Sam hadn't.
Yeah.
I feel like he has to have contact with them first.
Gotcha. Okay.
In order to be able to lock in.
Right.
But they've definitely locked in on other characters before.
Yes.
That aren't in the room.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Daniel and Roy. Okay. I'm sorry, I skipped a part. Yeah. So Karen comes in. She's calling for Luke. Sam says, back here. Sam ends up explaining the situation and asks her to get the medication and says that he will take her to them if she wants. Karen then just proceeds to go and get the keys. He thinks that she's just going to walk out.
Right.
But she comes back with the keys.
And she lets him out of the cell. This is another, just some weird moments in this episode. And I know I'm nitpicking, but... I
mean, that's what we do here.
He says, if Roy doesn't get the medication, he's going to die. And then I think Daniel will too.
Right.
That sounds like a threat. How would Sam or how would Henry know, if Roy dies, your son's going to die too?
Well, the funny thing is, she doesn't even question that.
Exactly.
Yes. So, yeah, you're right. That's a good point. She doesn't question, like, well, how do you know he's going to die? Like, what are you talking about? She doesn't even question it. She just goes and gets the keys. And, yeah.
So Roy and Daniel have hiked up to Willamette Peak, which, by the way, isn't a real place. I looked. I was trying to figure out where in Washington we are. We're definitely in Western Washington because we're green. But we're on a river. It would have made more sense if we're on a lake because there's an awful lot of lakes in that region. But the fact that we're on a river, I feel like this doesn't represent a accurate place. The Willamette River is not in Washington, it's in Oregon. And the whole Willamette forest is in Oregon. So, I mean, there are places in Washington that use the name Willamette, but there's not a Willamette
Could
Peak.
they have ended up there from Washington? Or
I mean, if this was the Columbia River, I guess they could be right on the border, but I don't know.
I wouldn't know geography enough to notice that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So... yeah, Al pops in to keep an eye on them. Daniel says his mom will probably be mad at him. And Al suggests Roy tell him to go home. But Roy instead says, sometimes you gotta break away from your mama. And this, of course, irritates Al. He's like, you know what, on second thought, why don't you just not say anything at all? And basically, Roy suggests that Bigfoot could be 1,000 miles away or watching them right now.
Well, I can tell you a hologram from the future is watching you right now.
Yep. Al says he hopes Bigfoot can't see holograms. Daniel asks to take Roy's picture, which Roy is all enthusiastic about. Daniel goes to get the camera, but he ends up knocking it off. When he tries to reach for the camera, he ends up falling over and falling into a crevice. I have falling into a hole, which kind of brings back theater arts memories. Because I was constantly asked to basically pretend like I was falling into a hole. Because I did that once. And they basically made me do it over and over and over again. But anyway, that's besides the point.
I love how this scene was portrayed. We see it all in slow motion.
Yes, that was pretty cool.
And they make it look very dramatic. Probably much more than it looked in just a cut, which is why they did it that way.
Right.
But...
so Roy calls after him, Al lowers himself down to check in on him. Well, that's already automatically more useful than Addison ever was in the new series. And then has himself centered on Sam. Sam and Karen are stuck on a rock. They've been driving in a truck. Al appears and basically says they're just right over there, so they end up making a run for it. They find Roy rocking back and forth. Sam ends up giving him his pills. Karen and Sam look into the hole, but of course they cannot find anything. And wouldn't you know it, Luke is now directly behind them. How did he get here? How come nobody noticed him?
I got questions about Luke. Like, how did he even find them?
Well, yeah.
And what's he driving? Because in a little while, we're going to be like, oh, no, I forgot the truck is crashed. What did Luke get here in?
Right. He just kind of appears out of thin air right behind him somehow. And nobody noticed him. But, yeah. So, Sam practically... Yeah, so... he has a shotgun on them. He's like, Karen, please move away. Sam was like, Daniel is down here. Once again, Luke seems to not give two shits about Daniel at all. And basically, Sam is practically begging him, like, what are you doing here? Like, your petty vendetta against us. Your stepson is down in this hole. He needs to get out. We need to help him. Sam tells him that John's death was not his fault. It was a war. And things happen in war. Luke turns to Karen and says he wanted to tell her. He tells her it was his fault that John died. And Karen asks, why? Because you couldn't kill an old man? And Luke seems surprised that she knew. In fact, I'm going to question, how does she know?
Right. If the only people that know are Luke, Henry, and Roy, and Luke didn't tell her,
right?
A couple options.
Henry Roy
could have told her.
Yes.
Which we wouldn't know because Henry's not here.
Right.
Or Luke also keeps a journal, and she read that.
Also, Roy could have told her, but I don't see why he would have done that.
I mean, somehow she found out, but I don't feel like he keeps a journal and writes this down because he's hiding this fact so much. I don't think he's putting it in writing.
Right.
So my guess is Henry.
I mean, that makes the most sense. They seem to have some type of relationship.
Right. Like, she knew about the doc giving them meds, so she's involved in them somehow already.
Right. And, I'm not totally clear on that. But he's basically like, you knew and you didn't say anything. Why not? And she said, I said I do. I thought that was enough. And she begs him quietly. He ends up lowering his gun. Sam tries to get into the hole but can't. And then Sam looks over at Roy, who's still rocking back and forth, and realizes that Roy could do this. He walks over to him. He asks him if he took the pills, if he's feeling better. And Roy basically knows what he wants. He basically says, you want me to go in that hole, don't you? And Sam says it's the only way to save Daniel. You can do this. Roy agrees to do this. Roy goes in, gets him out really quickly, I mean.
Yeah, we, skip something here. Right. I actually paused and rewound. I was like, wait, did Roku just skip a scene?
Right.
Because it goes from Roy saying, okay, I'll do it, to, we saved the kid.
Right.
There is no dramatic, he's going in the hole, he's dealing with his demons. We don't do that.
It's quite possible that there was a weird cut of some type.
I feel like a scene was deleted on the Roku version.
Yeah, it's quite possible.
This is something I could check. I could check Beyond the Mirror Image about, and I bet it's in there if that's the case.
We could even watch the episode itself on the DVD to find out.
But taking these notes, I paused and went back, and I was like, wait, what happened? Did it just skip? What? This feels off.
Yes.
It feels like there's something missing in this moment.
Right. Roy laughs triumphantly. Karen says he's in shock, but he'll be okay. They still need to go to the hospital. And Karen remembers the truck situation, that it's on the rocks. And so basically, they start running, but when they get to the truck, it's no longer stuck on the rocks, and it's completely turned around. And they all question this, but Sam is like, we don't have time to think about this. You just got to get Luke to the hospital. Luke invites Roy along to get checked out. Sam says he'll catch up with him. Why? I mean,
because Sam wanted to stay and talk to Al.
Sure, but how does he justify that? Why is he staying behind?
He's like, he doesn't need to go to the hospital.
Fair enough, but
you would think Roy would be like, please come with me.
Right. Luke seems ready to apologize to Sam, but Sam says it's okay. Go and get your son checked out. Al tells him that Daniel is fine. Luke and Karen have a couple of kids. Roy gets his job as a fire watcher in the Forest Service.
Right, which means he gets to just hang out in the woods and look out a tower for fires.
Right. Henry publishes his journal, and basically there's only one unanswered question. How did the truck get off the rocks and turned around? And Al says, I think that might be the answer. And Sam's like, what are you talking about? I'm talking about that right there. And they both see this hairy figure walking in the woods, and it actually physically turns to them, thus proving the fact that Bigfoot is actually a real thing. And then Sam ends up leaping into a Civil War battle.
Oh boy.
Yes, and that's going to be a fun episode to talk about for sure. And that's the episode.
That's the episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, I found a lot of little quirky things that I don't love. But if you look at it through a weaker lens than that, it is a powerful story. It's a good story about the dynamics between this friend group and the war and PTSD and all of these things.
Yeah, if you're not looking at it from the Deep Dive TV podcast lens, this is an enjoyable episode. It's not a particularly great episode, but it's also not anywhere near the category of bad. Kind of ends up an okayville for me.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you why I don't love it. I just don't.
You know what I was thinking when I was writing these notes is it felt really short. Like, it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of substance to it.
Right.
Like, we've got these main points, and then it's just over.
Right.
And I feel like, I mean, it's the same length as every other episode, but I feel like there was less to it than some of the episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, performances are pretty good all around. Pat Skipper's pretty great in this episode. He's not an actor I particularly love all the time because he basically plays the a-hole in pretty much every role that he's in. But particularly when he was Bill Scully, he was really mean to Mulder in those episodes. But it's decent, not bad in any stretch of the imagination. It's just a lot less interesting than the episodes we're going to watch from here on out.
Yeah, we've got 3 pretty good ones coming up.
Yes. A reminder, we are covering those 3 episodes. We're going to get to the series finale. I think we're having a guest that you may have seen on the channel before.
That's the plan.
Whether that happens or not, we'll see. For the series finale, and then eventually we're going to wrap around and do the episodes that we did not do together back in the day, starting with Starcross.
Going back to Starcross, because we already did Genesis. But there probably will be kind of a break again between the end of this and to that, because we have our holidays coming up. We have all kinds of cool stuff scheduled for the holiday months.
Absolutely. And once again, if you are interested in joining that Zoom party, which we are doing Monday, 5 to 7 Eastern time, send a message to Stacie or myself in that email or in any way that you want to contact us. Let us know who you are so that we know you're not a troll. And when Stacie actually referred to as bad people.
It took me a moment to get the right word, but I got there, okay?
I mean, it's not like I'm any better. But yes, send us that message. Let us know your intention to be there. We'll give you the link. Even if you don't know if you're going to be there, but might join in, let us know. We'll give you the link.
Yeah, we got to give you the link ahead of time is the thing. Because once the time hits, we're going to be busy, and we might miss your message if you try messaging us during the time. So
the other possibility, if you don't want to join the live, not the live, but the Zoom
video.
Party, you could also make a little clip, congratulating us on 1 million views, letting us know who you are, so on and so forth. There's different ways that you can participate if you are interested in doing so. All right. We'd like to hear from you. What did you think of this podcast episode? What did you think of this? What did you think? What did you just think in general?
What do you think?
Yes.
Let us know.
Leave your comments. Stacie can be reached at.
I can be reached on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at TV and Coupon Talk.
If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can follow me on Twitter at Korn Productions. You can join the Korn Productions Facebook page. You can buy something from the Korn Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a coffee. You can join the Korn Productions membership for 99 cents a month, starting at. And, of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribe to the channel. This is Dave and Stacie from Korman Productions, signing off.